second time, I forgot to hit record. So, oh, fantastic. Alright, so, as you can see, oh, hello, we're back with another video like I did before. My hands, okay. As you can see, I am reading Anthony Bourdain's cookbook. Again, I figured it'll be a nice little theme for these, I don't theme, but just something to do, in these sort of up-close videos that I'm trying to continue with. I will continue to make my face videos, but I think this would be a nice way to supplement, so I can try to get more videos in, because these I like. Okay, so first of all, I guess first, I've already talked a lot, but I want to give a shout out to ASMR Muzz, because he pointed me in the direction of the camera. I don't want to call it tripod, but sort of camera snake to hold my camera. In the previous video, I had used a tripod, and I angled it like upside down to film it, and then in editing, I had to flip the image. Was it 180 or something? And it was a pain. It wasn't a pain in the ass. It just took longer for it to render and such. And my computer is getting a little long in the tooth, so this is much easier. So thank you, Muzz. I really appreciate it. He was very kind to share that information because he had just bought one himself. If you have not checked out his videos, I encourage you to do so. He has a very nice Scottish accent. Yeah, and he's good at the ASMR. So, yeah, that's all I got for him. So let's get to this. Hopefully, it's not going to be, as I talked about in my second attempt that I did not record. I am going to try to squeeze in time when I can do these, and it's right now, and I've already killed 5 minutes because I didn't record. So it's not going to be very long, but it's going to be. So we are on the breakfast section. There's the breakfast section. We have already talked about these scrambled eggs. And we are on the omelets. Here is a nice picture of him making omelets. Just scooch it over though, so I can read it. I understand that the typing might be a little small, but it's for you to listen to and relax because there's not much to see. Alright. Omelets. Use fresh eggs, and as with scrambled eggs, break them on a flat surface and into a small bowl. Season with salt and freshly cracked pepper. Do not add milk or water. Just before cooking, and not a moment before, beat the eggs vigorously with a fork, but don't overdo it. Texturally, you want a rippling effect between yolk and albumin, not strips of visible egg white running through your omelet, which you want in a scrambled egg. But not a homogeneous, totally smooth consistency either. Beat just until uniformly yellow, no more. In a non-stick pan, heat a little whole butter. Do not brown. When butter is bubbling, add the eggs and immediately move everything else soft and likely to ooze, should be gently laid into the center of the cooking eggs just before removing from the fire and plating. You should be able to make 2 omelets at once, probably no more, unless you're like me. That's what it says. I didn't add that. I'm lucky if I can make 1 at a time. Eggs Benedict. A couple of tips on Eggs Benedict. Toast your goddamn muffins. Everybody fucks up the muffin. Lazy line cooks everywhere neglect to toast their English muffins on both sides. They pop them under the salamander, broiling them on one side and leaving the other side raw, spongy, cold, and tasting of the refrigerator. I hate that. Don't do it. It's a terrible food crime. Be sure to grill or at least pan-sear your Canadian bacon. Make your hollandaise comfortably ahead of time and store it warm in a wide-mouth thermos for service. Nothing's more frustrating than having your hollandaise either break on you or get too cold. And it says see hollandaise on page 270. Poaching eggs is a challenge for most home cooks, and a lot of that stress and failure is due to the making of some bush league mistakes. Use a wide-based pot for your poaching water, not a deep one. A sauteur is perfect. You want to reach into your pot with your slotted spoon at a comfortable angle and lift the eggs out. You're not bobbing for apples. Add about half a teaspoon white vinegar to the water. It will help the egg whites coagulate and the egg to keep its generally roundish form once poaching. Do not drop the eggs into the water. When the water is at a gentle simmer, slide your already open eggs in individual cups, one after the other, into the water gently from the surface. Tilt the cup and let the eggs slowly and gently slide sideways into the water. When done, which is to say cooked until fully formed but still runny in the center, lift each egg gently out of the water with a slotted spoon and serve immediately. Unless you have made the hubristic decision to serve Eggs fucking Benedict to a party of 10 guests in your home. Presumably, your guests will want to be served all at the same time, or reasonably close to that ideal. Unless you're a mastermind of brunch with a lot of short-order experience, it's unlikely you will be able to successfully drill out 20 perfectly poached eggs in under 2 minutes. So what to do? Now, I'm not saying you should do what I'm about to tell you. I'm just saying you can do it. I may or may not have done it when serving 600 brunches, many of which included Eggs Bennies, during a 3-hour period. I may or may not have pre-poached a shitload of eggs, undercooking them as much as humanly possible, just before service, then floated them in a bus pan filled with ice water. For service, I'd finish them soy sauce.